Hey folks, as I always say, we are back. We are back here at Circuit World in Blue Ridge, Georgia. It's raining a little bit this morning here in North Georgia. Yes, it is. So might be a nice day for an afternoon nap. I think I will get right into that around 2. Anyhow, I'm your host, BKP. We have a great lineup today. We have our Ask the Doc with Dr. William Whaley and Dr. Raymond Tidman. We have the all-star political panel, and we've got a lot going on. I always say, I wonder if they will have something to talk about. Now, a couple things, okay? And this is Georgia related, but if you're out there watching nationally, it's House Bill 531 and it's Senate Bill 241. Those are the bills. Okay, you can go search on the internet Georgia House of Representatives, and you go to the website. All you got to do is put in the search HB 531, SB 241. What that will do is it will tell you all of the signers on the bill, all the people that have co-authored and support the bill. So if you want to make calls to those legislators' office, you can just click on their name and it'll go right to them and you can call their office. But the important thing about it is these two bills, they're omnibus bills, they're very big. One is 48 pages, I think, and one is 26, the Senate bill. They deal with absentee ballots. They deal with drop boxes in Georgia, outside money from grants like Mark Zuckerberg. They deal with poll watchers, everything in these two bills. And for the most part, they're not bad bills. But it really has Stacey Abrams of Fair Fight all worked up, right? And what are they trying to pass in Washington, D.C. that may come to a vote next week? And it's because of things like this. That's why if you're watching nationally, I think it's HB 1. HB 1 would basically federalize our elections. That's all we need to do is, give Washington, D.C. power over one more thing in our life, like they don't have enough or have all the power. But when you look at HB 1 for next week that is coming up, you will see Stacey Abrams in Georgia is really supporting it and pushing it because they're really in fear, is the only word I have, they're in fear of HB 531 and SB 241 setting a standard across this country, drop boxes and so many other things. Now, that being said, these two bills have to come out of committee Monday. So today, the weekend, and Monday is very important. You need to call and encourage your lawmakers in Georgia. Even if you're across the United States, anywhere, call lawmakers in Georgia and say, support HB 531, support SB 241. Call state senators in Georgia. It's real easy. You go to the website, you can get a full list of state senators. Obviously, I kindly say you're wasting your time calling the Democrat senators, state senators. They have very little, if any, interest in these two bills. And wouldn't do you very good to call Democrat state House members. So you can go through those, but they need your phone calls of support. Very important. You must, Fair Fight, NAACP, the list goes on, Stacey Abrams, all of them, even all of her friends from California, they're running commercials and pouring money into trying to get rid of these two bills here in Georgia. So these could set a national standard. These could push things to a point where HB 1, they're trying to federalize elections up in D.C. So they need your help. Call today. I feel like, call today. They need your help. Call them and tell them you support those bills and to please do not buckle, my kind words, buckle, cave, or here's the big one, compromise with the Democrats in Georgia on these two bills. So there you go. That's That's my opening. Rand Paul questioned, Senator Rand Paul questioned a man who thinks he's a woman yesterday for assistant HHS secretary, Richard/Rachel Levine. I'm going to talk about that in the All-Star Political Panel. I better not get too worked up on that right now. And yesterday also, while we're on that note, the House Equality Act. Yes, the House Equality Act. This is a direct attack on Christianity, just putting it like that, and it's a direct attack on the church. Absolutely. The Equality Act. We'll get into that in the All-Star Political Panel as 3 Republicans rushed over on the Democrat side of the aisle to help pass the Equality Act yesterday. $1.9 trillion that we're going to try to sell more debt to give away money to blue states, bail people out, whatever. I'm your host, BKP. We'll be back right after these brief messages with Ask the Doc, Dr. William Whaley and Ray Tidman.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
8 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little.
Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
It's been 4 generations of family ownership, tens of thousands of customers, and more Chevys than we'd ever be able to count. And more than 60 years later, when we say Days Gets It Done, we still mean it. With the North Georgia Mountains lowest Chevy prices, a huge selection, and outstanding customer care. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, and let's get it done.
Days Chevrolet, Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Days Chevrolet, Days gets it done.
North Georgia is truck country, and nobody discounts Chevy trucks like Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Now save $8,000 off new Silverado crew cabs, or save $5,700 on the all-new body style Equinox. Every Chevy truck and SUV discounted big. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, the low price leader in truck country.
Days Chevrolet, Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Hey folks, we are back. I'm your host BKP. Now wait a minute. You're going to give us the rain update. I see the rain. Something told me you may give us a rain update or where we're at on the water table. Anyhow, I'm your host BKP. It is time for Ask the Doc with I got a good one here with Dr. Raymond Tidman and the multi-talented. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Multi-talented.
Georgia Cancer Specialist.
No, not them yet.
Okay.
Not them.
All right. I got a lot of
weather,
yes.
rain.
Well, your first
Dr. William Willie.
Thank
you, Georgia Cancer Specialist affiliated with Northside Hospital. Dr. Willie, how are you?
My opening comments, really. People want to know why we're not Sycamore Crossing. You just look out the window out there. It's 100% chance.
I'm glad you said that because we're only a couple weeks from nice weather and being outdoors.
It was beautiful yesterday.
Yes.
All right, so now we're above now. We're down an inch below in the rain, and it had me driven crazy. We're half an inch over in the rain now. But one more thing I'll say about our hosts here at the Circuit World. You saw when I walked in today, seasonal goods here.
Lawnmower.
Now you go to the store, your Walmart, it says seasonal special. That's the first big fancy
lawnmower
with the blower and the stuff I've ever seen in here.
Ready to
so
go.
Ready to go. All right. So that's what
Well, we're in Georgia, so
and I'm wearing
one day you
my
have
purple tie.
a freeze warning, and the next day you wake up, it's time to cut grass. So, hi, how are you?
Present unaccounted for.
Present unaccounted for.
Yeah, and I'm going to New York, I told you, tomorrow to go to a hockey game Sunday.
Yes, because
It's
Madison Square Garden is 12%.
Yeah,
They're opening up 12%.
40 degrees up there and cold. And it was 72 yesterday when I got home and sat on my porch. So you got a really bad one to see your grandkids.
But you know what? I'm looking at you thinking, hey, how can I stow away? Because you're going to a Rangers game.
Yeah.
And I tell you,
I'm gonna
in
see
the
my
car.
I'm going to see my grandkids.
We first have to make sure a vaccinated man doesn't have COVID.
I had to
first.
go to his office to get a test yesterday. I have to have a negative test to get in Madison Square Garden, and I've been vaccinated.
Okay, wait a minute. So you're going now. You're a doctor. You've been vaccinated.
Yeah.
Okay, but you're flying to New York,
Tomorrow morning.
and the rules are they have 12%. Madison Square Garden's open, but if you go in the garden, you have to prove a negative test.
Within 72 hours.
So you had to go see him yesterday.
Yeah, I did.
And he's vaccinated.
And he's vaccinated.
And the percentage of the success of the vaccine is higher than the percentage of the testing. So figure that one
How
out.
much that make any sense?
What are the odds in
gotta
Vegas
tell you,
on here? If you're getting Vegas odds on Whaley at the Garden,
I didn't have to take off my clothes to get the test.
Yeah.
And the other thing was,
let's not let this go the wrong way.
And Jane said they're going to stick this big thing down your nose. I said, Jane, they just took a little cotton swab and rubbed my throat. So I'm going to tell you, getting the test is nothing like they used to
Like it
say
used to
early
be.
on.
It's not the brain biopsy
It's
anymore.
not the brain biopsy.
But it's not the rectal biopsy
Yeah, all
either,
right.
so.
Okay.
We're not on. That was the Chinese.
So
Chinese.
I'm excited to
But
say
it was
because
just a joke.
for those out there, I'm a hockey lover. I know what it's like to go to see the Rangers at the Garden. 12% capacity.
It ain't
but-
gonna be the same, is it?
Exactly,
Yeah.
but good to you. Good for you.
All right, let's
Can't
get
wait
on.
to hear about it.
We got to get on here now because we're here to answer questions, and this is a really good question, and it's got a lot of educational value for patients about what really modern cancer therapy is all about. Listen to this. My wife had breast cancer surgery at a Northside hospital. Now, we have a huge number of Northside hospitals. She's going to show a map in a minute. 2 weeks ago, yesterday, we met with the medical oncologist who went over the pathology and lymph nodes and things with us, and she said she had, quote, unusual features, end quote, and wants us to wait 10 days for follow-up before he presents her case to the Multimodality Tumor Conference. What is that about? Should we be worried? Now, so here it is. The guy's got the data. He's got the lymph nodes. He's got everything else. And 90% of the time, 95% of the time, they would immediately say, no negative, no positive. You should do this, you should do that, do something else. And he said, let's wait. There's something unusual about it. So show that first thing there. Common things are common, right? And so when you hear hoofs, you're supposed to think of horses and not zebras. But this thing that you've got up there on the board now is a list of about 10 types of breast cancer. And some of these, that one right there, second from the bottom, in my practice now 50 years, I've seen 2. So, and some of these, you can pull it down now. But I don't know what the unusual features of this breast cancer was, but I do know that there are cancers that are extremely small in the percentage of breast cancers. I said last week that breast cancer is now the #1 cancer in the country since lung cancer has gone down, right? So there's lots and lots of breast cancers. This is relatively small. Throw up that next one. So 2 or 3 things could be going on here. This is just a flow sheet of 1/8 of the clinical trials that are available in the Northside Cancer Center, and these are the same clinical trials you'd get if you were at Sloan Kettering, for various types of breast cancer that might be the driver that has him looking at going for some help. Okay, take that one down. And then the other one might be, this the hereditary one you got up there? Yeah, okay. So it could be that there are genetic markers and hereditary things that have got him sort of worried here. Still there? All right, pull that one down and we'll talk for just a minute. So we see a lot of breast cancer. It's obviously the most common cancer that I see, but I also see a lot of lung cancer and lymphoma and prostate cancer. In the Northside Cancer Center, there are about 160 medical oncologists like me. Spread. Show that map. There's a map right there of the state of Georgia. You got out there where you got a good look at it. If you look at this map, and you can't see it on your screen here, but there's little white dots everywhere, and every one of those spots represents a independent. The two at the top, by the way, see those two at the top? That's ours in Blue Ridge, and that's the Blairsville office of Georgia Cancer. Okay, pull that down. So let's just assume that patient was operated on at Northside Cherokee, but lives in Cumming or somewhere and is going to one of the Northside Cancer Centers, has a doctor like me, has unusual features in this tumor. This multimodality tumor conference they're talking about, we've got specialists in the 100 and so medical oncologists who focus their attention on one particular cancer, although they treat others. So they're the experts among the experts. Do you understand what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I've used this analogy before. Back when West Paces Ferry Hospital was there, they built the first specialty hospital in the South for just eyes, and it was called Metro Eye and Ear Hospital. And all the big specialists in the state moved to Atlanta then. And I used to say, we have doctors at that hospital that operate on the cornea, some on the iris, some on the water, some on the retina, and some don't even operate on the eye itself, just around the eye. Well, so what this conference is going to do, by video, so that the doctor doesn't have to leave his office, they're going to have breast radiation therapists that do nothing but breast radiation therapy. They're going to have geneticists. They're going to have medical oncologists who specialize in chemo or specialize in other things, and they're all going to discuss your wife's case. And they're going to say, we think that the best thing to do for her is this, for this reason, or she's ideal for a certain clinical trial. So I don't think you could get any better up-to-date care than she's getting, and the fact that she's going to be presented to that multimodality tumor conference means that all the experts that are available in every part of breast cancer treatment, including plastic surgery, will discuss your wife's case and come up with a plan, and that you should be grateful for the chance.
Obviously, it's not unusual that almost all medical, anything medical or your health, you say don't worry, but people worry.
Right. Yeah.
They worry. And in this here, although it's understandable somebody is going to worry about this, this is actually big that, you know, you have all these professionals, experts in their fields that are going to come together, and whatever they decide, you're getting the best of the best treatment or
yeah, smarter people than I are thinking about your wife.
Right. So
and they're knocking it around and discussing it,
Right.
and maybe we'll come up with yet another idea as they do it. Bill and I are obviously very proud of our profession most of the time, except for some current disease that's going on. But in the meantime, I mean, think about the excellence that's displayed in this. I mean, this is not like, okay, we'll pay all these guys to get together in a room and discuss something. These guys, of their own free will and their own time, will say, you know, this is a tough case. Let's see what we can come up with. What area in the world does that kind of work?
For free.
For free.
right.
Oh, and by the way, they do them at 7 in the morning so that that can't see their patients.
Right.
And the infrastructure to put this together and have people do literature reviews, you have to have the pathologist and the slides and the radiologist and everything, is huge. It's a big expense that's done for nothing, and you don't get paid for it.
And it speaks to the system of care that our country has that people like to beat on. So,
Hey, folks, don't forget you can send those questions. That itself a great question. You can send those questions to info, I-N-F-O, at fetchernews.com. Put Ask the Doc. Follow us on social media. Write a question there. Ask the Doc. And again, thank you, Georgia Cancer Specialist, affiliated with Northside Hospital. Well, were you done with that one, or did
I am done with
Oh,
that one.
I didn't know. I didn't want to interrupt that. So, You ready to go?
Well,
into-
you're driving the boat here, so.
All right.
Like, you want me to read this next one?
Do
Well,
I need
go
to
ahead.
get my life jacket on?
No. Yeah, outside. Okay, this is kind of interesting here. All right. My husband is 78 years old. Okay, so the guy's got some years on him. And he is finishing 6 months of chemotherapy for lung cancer that could not be removed because it was around his heart. So that tells you that it's pretty big localized tumor in there. And he was treated with what sounds like aluminum and B12 shots. Now, right off the bat, you got to think he's getting treated somewhere strange, or she just remembers how it sounded, which is good. Now they want him to take a year or 2 years of an immune drug that sounds like infinity. That's a car, right? What is your opinion? Now, I'm not joking about. I really don't mean to diminish this, but I think this is pretty typical of what a doctor will hear a patient remembers when they come back to the office. We'll speak to that in a minute. Put that picture up of the lung. So this is exactly what this patient has. You see these little growths right here?
Yes, I see.
There's not a way in the world anybody can cut that thing out, because you see what's sitting right there, that's his heart. Mm-hmm. You'd have to take the heart out to be able to get that out of there. So it ain't coming out, right? All right, take that down. Now, he was treated with B12 shots. Now, I don't think you've ever heard of any cancer that's treated with B12 shots. Aha, but it really is. Okay, show that next one right there. There's an old drug called methotrexate. Ray's been giving it for years to people with rheumatoid arthritis, okay? It interferes with the B12 and the folic acid metabolism, so when somebody takes methotrexate once a week for rheumatoid arthritis, they got to take B12 shots. This cancer drug is called premetrexate. It'll be 3 or 4 years ago we discussed this drug. If you remember, we haven't talked about it in years. But this top graph there is this premetrexate drug given with vitamin B12 and with a platinum drug, which does make a difference, for 6 months, and how the survival of that group compares to the group that's below, that's treated with the old type of chemotherapy. Well, you've been around long enough to know if the line up here is the line you want to be in, and the line down here is the line you hope you're not in, right? But to be in that line, you're going to have to get a B12 shot. And he got 6 months of it. All right, you can pull that one down. So what that tells you is that for 6 months, which is the length of this treatment, the guy's done well. And when he got to the end, he was doing so well. Pull up that next one. The next one's a picture of the Imfimzi. The drug is called Infimzi. Well, that sounds a lot like infinity. Close. It's darn close, isn't it? Yeah. All right, now put up that next slide. They're going to be through this question. This slide here starts where this one ends. In other words, when you get to the end of that treatment right there, the next experiment is to either give you this drug or give you a placebo. This is the targeted therapy like Jimmy Carter got and has been on it for 3 years. So Imfimzi is one of those anti-PD-1 drugs, and it doubles the survival, top line, doubles the survival after the next year or two. So you can pull that down. Your husband is getting the top care you can get. He did really well for the first 6 months because they don't go into that second section unless you're have had a good response. And now he's going to be treated with the Jimmy Carter drug, and he's getting the right treatment. So that's the end of that.
Okay. All right. I want to ask a quick question before we get into any.
Not from your mother.
No.
Your mother didn't have a question this week.
Not this week.
Okay.
Well, wait a minute. If I would have asked, there would have been a question. So I didn't inquire. So
okay. All right. Go ahead.
Never want to say she's short of a question. But I want to go back a couple weeks because maybe a lot of viewers are wondering. I myself was not tuned in, no pun intended.
You expect me to remember 2 weeks ago?
You'll get this one. You'll get this one. I was not tuned in so much to exactly what kind. Is lung cancer, it's a two-part question. Is lung cancer just lung cancer, variations, And why could they not treat Rush Limbaugh? What happened there with Rush and his cancer?
Okay, Rush got really good care for a long time and responded to a drug like Imfimzi.
Okay.
He reached the point where, as they treat, how long has he gone with this? 2.5 years or
yes,
something like
has.
that?
It's been a battle for a while.
Yeah, but the stage he had without response has a life expectancy of 6 months. And he told us that when he started. I think he got 30 months or something close to that out of it. So he did respond to chemo. He never was a surgical candidate. So he had advanced cancer at the beginning. So he was treated with...
So when he was diagnosed, the stage...
Yeah, stage was advanced when he started. And he had a whole series of different treatments. And the last treatment, as best I understand it, was immunotherapy. And then it's like when you give antibiotics for a bladder infection where you shouldn't treat at all. This is something we talked about before. If you have an asymptomatic urinary tract infection and there's bacteria in your urine, you're not symptomatic, and you do your analysis and somebody cultures it comes back out of Germany, you don't treat that. You remember me telling you that the highest incidence of in-hospital deaths in one of our large hospital systems was antibiotic-resistant bacteria in women who had been treated for asymptomatic bacteriuria. So you treat those with antibiotics 2 or 3 times, and then that bacteria learns how to resist that antibiotic and becomes resistant to it. Then it goes off on its own. Well, cancer does the same thing. So if you got a big old lug of cancer like this, and you can whittle it down to something smaller than a pea, that part that's still alive that's smaller than a pea is resistant to that treatment that you gave it, and that's what happened to Rush. So you ran out of options.
All right, okay. Very important. Stage is very important.
Right.
Early screening,
This-
early screening for all cancer, and don't hesitate to get your checkups.
Right, well, this one right here is stage 3 by definition. 4 means it would be metastatic somewhere else. Unresectable is stage 3, probably stage 3B. And so there's lots of stages that are downstream from that you could remove, but not this one. And that's the way Rush was.
Okay. Well, what do we want to talk about now?
Well, we've got all sorts of stuff to talk
Do
about.
we? What's top in the news? What's...
Well, Ray mentioned it a little while ago.
No, you... See, the thing is, I'm going to give up the secret. Okay.
What's the sauce? You're going to give the sauce?
Giving
out?
the secret up. Folks, these two email throughout the week. You do.
Yeah.
They email throughout the week, so they have a pre-conversation.
But I only include you. Well, no, you think you don't have how long I work on this? You got
Yes, I do.
You do because you see.
I get the copies of the
you get
emails.
these copies. So does Emily. So here it is, right there. What's the top line?
What happened to flu season? Dun dun dun.
I'm going to shut up because before we went on the air, we were discussing this. And Ray has an idea about what happened to the flu season. Because as I said a couple of weeks ago, the early data from the CDC, and this was in December, January, was that the flu season is just cranking up. And you need to get your flu shot because we don't know how bad it's going to be. Well, now we're 8 weeks later, and what's the story, Ray?
Okay, you have the floor. Before you go, number one thing people say to me, and not in conversation, but when we're talking about COVID or something, where'd the flu go? And that is...
Well, I mean, I'm speculating here, but I think it's a reasonably informed speculation. Let me give you an analogy. When we learned how to take blood pressures with a little cuff and stuff, we had an epidemic of hypertension. Well, it wasn't that hypertension was going crazy or that it was a new disease. It was a new way of diagnosing something.
Sure, PSA and a mammogram.
Same thing with prostate cancer, mammograms, all those things. So when you start looking for something, you find it. We've not been looking for the flu. We've all been told to go home, don't get out, and all these secondary things Bill and I keep talking about, not seeing your doctor, not getting screened, all these kind of things. Well, look, cancer's not gone away. It's just going to be later staged and worse next year when they do start looking for it again. The flu is still out there. People are not coming to the doctor's office with flu symptoms getting tested for the flu. So that's one simple answer. The second possible answer is that you've got another, quote, disease going on that people are looking at and paying attention to, and they're ignoring the flu symptoms. So that virus is not likely to have gone away or be any different this year than last year, but it's most likely that what we're paying attention to is not the flu.
Yeah, and I think another one is that you're not putting your hand on the escalator where 10,000 people have been before you coming off an airplane. When you go into the Ingalls, you're washing your hands and you're wearing a mask and you're staying 6 feet away from people. Well, that's going to
hand washing alone,
right.
and good.
that
Because the flu is
diminishes the
transmitted.
flu.
Is transmitted on doorknobs and stuff, unlike COVID's in the air. And then the final piece is the flu is, we know, much more deadly to the younger people than the older. So it's a worrisome thing.
And the kids aren't in school, so they're not getting it.
Well, you're putting a lot. Kids aren't. Usually, what takes place is the first week of school. All the kids come back, and they all get together, and they bring everybody home a cold. So a severe cold, head cold or whatever, starts making its rounds 2.5 weeks after school opens, where the kids all get back together and they're sniffling and everything, and next thing you know, a cold outbreak. So basically things like not having school may be...
Well, I mean, let me jump on that.
You see what I'm saying? Okay.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But I'm going to stay apolitical here, but this year I think there have been, or 2020, there were 1.5 million deaths from tuberculosis in the world. 1.5. Okay. We don't talk about TB. We don't shut the country down for TB. We don't have everybody start wearing different things for TB. We don't tell people not to see their doctor because TB's out there. 1.5 million cases of tuberculosis. What is it? 2 million for COVID deaths last year?
Right.
Okay. Not that far a difference. And yet COVID, we've shut the world down. We've altered everything. All the systems that we've developed to try to deal with and surveil and treat diseases have been knocked on their head for this one condition. But there are other conditions out there. I mean, a lot more people die from heart disease every year than COVID. A lot more people die from cancers than COVID. This one disease has upended our economies. It has changed how we seek and take care of health care, all because a few people in a few places had a lot of power, and they scare everyone. I'm not assigning a party to this. It's just wrong-headed. It has been wrong-headed, and it needs to end soon. So in this little conversation you and I just had, I don't want anybody to think, well, we should stop having schools. But that is an interesting point. Well, the teachers have a double lose here, okay? What if grades were going up and suicides were going down and they were staying at home and not teaching? That'd be the end of in-class teaching, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would.
But it's the opposite going on. They're staying home. The kids are killing themselves.
Wait a minute. No. I want to back up. I want to put that brake sound on, screech the brakes, and back up. So if grades were going up, suicide was going down, and what else? How did you buy?
Well, and
we have the recording.
And the teachers were all staying home.
Then that would be.
We don't need teachers in schools. Yeah.
Then you wouldn't need teachers anymore. You hit on something kind of interesting that historically, up until 2 years ago, when kids go to school, they bring coals home to their parents.
Right.
There's only two people here, me better than Ray, at age that when I was a boy and when I entered medical school in 1960. You have never even heard of acute rheumatic fever, but streptococcal disease has an allergic reaction or an autoimmune reaction that affects your heart. It was most common in women of childbearing years and school teachers, because in the fall of the year, kids would go back into school, get strep throat. Teacher would get it, and then teacher would get rheumatic fever
and have injuries to her
and have
heart.
injury to her heart that would kill her over time, or have to have heart surgery. So in those days, there was the epidemics that occurred that were kids brought it to the teachers. Now, after you got rid of rheumatic fever, it became viral, and kids brought the colds home to their mamas. But still, the concept's the same.
I'm not quite that young. My mother died when I was an intern of complications of rheumatic heart disease.
Okay, well, there you go.
So, and Bill's exactly right. The kids move that around. But that's how we evolve as a culture, and particularly in medicine, is that we find the disease, we figure out how to diagnose it, we figure out how to treat it, and we figure out how not to spread it. We don't throw everything away and say, let's all go run, hide, and the sky's falling. And then we don't do it for a year. And then we don't keep doing it because somebody thinks, well, this which hasn't worked will work someday if we keep pounding on this hammer.
Well, I don't want to get your hair on fire.
Right, because I don't have a lot of it.
But I had to throw that. Sorry. Don't want you to get your hair all on fire. But I watched several committee hearings, from committee hearings in Washington, D.C. to committee hearings in Atlanta. And I watched several this week, several hours of the double mask.
Oh, gosh.
I say I knew. Sorry.
Well, hey,
sorry.
All right, I've got another.
But I know
there's another visual.
I'm sorry. They were. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But we have somebody going on TV that is supposed to be in an authority in the medical world saying, yes, a double mask would help.
He's an authority, as the tumor board might be, in a particular niche, in a particular area, and you'd love to have him in a room with people discussing things and give his idea. You don't want to give him control of the world. You don't want to give anybody control of the world. Here's a great another visual for you, okay? What do people complain about with the mask when they go outside? Certain masks. My glasses fog up.
Yes,
right?
I understand.
Doesn't that drive you crazy
yes.
when your glasses fog out?
Yes.
Well, what is that telling you is going on with the air coming out of that mask? It's not going through it, it's going around it. Now, if the air is not even going through the poor filter to start with, and it's just going around it, it's nothing more than a face shield. And that doesn't stop the spread of COVID. I mean, if somebody spits or sneezes in your face, the face shield stops the spread of COVID. But the mask, just by the aerodynamics of it, is pushing air out because it's wet inside and the air can't go through it, and it's fogging up your glasses. So there you have, when he said, common sense tells you that if one mask is good, two is better, I'm like, no, common sense says the opposite of that. Because now you're totally blocking air from going through here, and it does have to go around it, and how in the world can that help?
Now, if you got an N95 mask, appropriately fitted.
Right.
And the one thing is, everybody wearing an N95 mask isn't got it appropriately fitted. Right. And then it's gonna do 95%. It's gonna do 95% work just like it's supposed to do. And the people that know how to wear that, you know what occupation they're in? Construction. They're working.
No, I agree with that.
They're working around
and nasty
grounds and nasty stuff.
And when they take that mask off, you can see a clean face and nasty face.
And they've got a big line where it's been fit. Right. But I have patients.
We ran a lot of, years ago, we ran a lot of routers that had fine powder because in construction for years. So we ran routers that when we cut and did things, we had a lot of fine powder in the air. So we always had the M95s, N or M? N. Now we had the N95 mask in the truck at all times. They went in with us as part, and at the end of the day, it's really funny, and I'm gonna throw my brother out there. He pull it up, and have it on his head. He'd come in and it's on his head so he can go like this, and he would have a white ring right here, just like you're saying. But they worked very well because we worked in a lot of dust.
In those years I was in the aviation consulting business, the people that are extremely well trained in industrial schools. That's why I love, as you know, I love these community colleges that teach people mechanics and HVAC and all that stuff. But not anybody working in a commercial airline working on engines or anything like that hadn't got a high degree of expertise and a high degree of experience and makes a real good living. You didn't have to get an English degree from somewhere and not be able to find a job. But anyway, if you went in that paint shop and into the place where they fix the engines, everybody's wearing an N95 mask, and the OSHA requirements were so great, but people followed them. People were well trained, like in the military. If you do exactly what you're supposed to do when you have figured out the right protocol and then people adhere to it, they didn't have a whole bunch of industrial lung disease. I think people got enough of it when they're working in the copper mines and stuff, and they learned that you can't go and do this sort of work and just breathe the air; it'll kill you. Well, that's where the N95 mask came from. So
and by the way, as you say, there were OSHA studies, there were discussions, there was back and forth to say, is this intervention worth
this data
the
works.
effort?
Yeah.
So that people would buy into it.
Right, but then what happens is you take that science and then you let everybody in the world buy a mask and wear it like this or something.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. These things are fitted. I mean, and they came in different sizes. Oh, and they had, you can't wear facial hair. Because if you can't wear facial hair like this because it wouldn't seal right. So, I mean, you've got to do some stuff. You got guys with beards you see walking around with a mask on their face. That's the dumbest thing in the world.
Well, I had a patient I got the image of it yesterday with a beard, with the mask over the beard and the nose hanging out. And the excuse was, it was a valid excuse. He's a lung patient, COPD, or can't breathe with the mask on. He ain't doing it. I mean, the mask is nothing but a showpiece.
Yes, right. He's wearing a chin strap.
A chin strap.
I got one more I want to put into a box for conversation. Got my panel ready to go, but I want one more now. Our immune system, and let me go with this because, I grew up playing in the dirt. Okay,
I hope so.
Had a Tonka truck. I know for those out there,
I made a few mud pies.
Not catching. Had a Tonka truck. Grew up playing in the dirt. So.
Including Mumbly Peg.
And Mom said, "Don't eat that dirt." So that was part of it. So anyhow, no, we've seen things change. Okay.
My mother said you have to eat a pint of dirt before you're 12, or you won't be immune. Yeah. That was way early. But they've shown that if you don't crawl around on the floor and eat dirt and have puppy dogs and play outside, you don't get as good an immunity.
I had one of the best son-in-laws in the world, and when the young grandson falls down and skins his knee, his dad says, "Throw a little dirt on that and get up and play."
All right, go on.
Okay, I like that. So our immune system. So let's back up a year. We interacted with people, went into stores, went into crowded theaters, went into crowded restaurants with somebody pushing at your seat behind you, all the above. And then we went to zero tolerance of everything in the world. Okay, germs. I keep my hand. Now, I always did, but I keep my hand sanitizer. I make sure my buggy has a nice bath before I push it through the grocery store. All that. Now, we're opening at percentage capacities. In dining restaurants down Georgia, it's been for a while, but in dining in New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, 30% now.
Goofy numbers.
Okay. You're going to a hockey game, 30%. I went to a football game last night. The state of North Carolina said that they could have 30% occupancy. But I'm watching, and
it's outdoors.
Where are we at? What's your concern with our immune system? When you hear, and I guess I'll put this all together, you can cover every piece I just put together, but when you hear we should be back to normal X, what is everything like that and starting to gradually open? What do you think?
Well, let me answer it a little bit differently than your question did, but I'll get to your real quick. Early on, I think Bill and I came to the conclusion in this test, that in this disease, that we needed to protect the fine china.
Yes.
And we needed to identify people quickly and get them treated best we could. Okay. That's been the case all along, and now it's absolutely the case. Okay, that everyone needs to get back to their life, and everyone needs to get to understand their risk and get protected as best they can. That has not changed. I predict in a year from now, we will see the tons of health problems that have been pushed back, which are going to now be worse in 2022 because of 2020's treatment. Okay, just to I'll throw that prediction out there. I don't know how much money I'd put on it, but I'm pretty damn sure it's going to happen. And then the historians will start looking back at this thing and say, well, how in the world did we do that? How in the world did we come up with this idea that life does not have risk and that you can mitigate all risk in life, and if you just do what the professionals and the godly people with the white jackets on or coats or whatever say, then you'll be okay. Life has risk. We're surrounded by it every day. Bill and I are going to go back up to the office. It's about, what is it, a quarter of a mile? We still could get killed in the car on the way up there. And we mitigate those risks and we try to minimize them, but they are out there. So there is no one thing that should ever overwhelm you, and we should go back to mocking the germphobes on TV. You know, the characters that are, wiping and cleaning everything and they won't touch anything and that are scared of folks. I mean, that's an extreme case of human life, and they're kind of funny, and we need to let them be funny.
And you?
Well, when you say back to normal, I do not believe that the crowded elevator, the crowded subway car is going to occur again, because we've learned that these big offices don't need to be full of people all the time, and our daughters that are in banking plan to do 80% or 75% of their work from home forever. And the commercial real estate people are changing the way that the offices are constructed such that the office will be occupied every day, but it's only going to have like 20 or 25% of the people there every day. They're going to be at home.
And HVAC systems will have ultraviolet systems in them.
So that's all going to be changed. Now, I think that I hope that you'll be able to go to Madison Square Garden and have it absolutely full and listen to Billy Joel or watch the Rangers or the Knicks and somebody play basketball. I really hope that we will have sporting events and we'll be able to go to concerts and stuff and have all the seats full and be fighting, paying for tickets and standing outside.
And wrestlers getting up and shaking each other's hands.
Yes, my grandson, I told you, in a state wrestling
what do they call it?
tournament.
Waller? They waller around on the mat, all sweaty, and then when they get up, they can't shake hands.
I mean, that was my grandson. This is a true story. I mean, that's the truth. So I'm not positive that in the business part that things are going to get back to like they were before, but I sincerely hope that social events, sporting events, concerts and stuff come back, and that the guy can be in a full stadium.
I will say this. I do think there's some things we've learned. All right, there's some takeaways. When you do anything, like anything I do, we have meetings or whatever, okay, when we wrap up, what are the takeaways? What are the takeaways? So I do think there are, but there's some things where there's not a takeaway, and we went backwards. Because like last night, the reality is I was over in North Carolina. They're playing high school football now. Well, that's okay. They're playing it now. But I watched these guys because I was down on the field and I did a post-game interview with the coach. So I'm down on the field and he's having a talk with the guys, and the guys are sweaty and
the weather's nice.
and they're all sweaty and everything like that. But when they got done playing, the two teams had to wave to each other. The rule, they could not do they couldn't go through the line.
But you use the word backwards, and so let's throw out there, how do you know when you're going backwards?
Yeah.
When you start depriving people of their freedom. Okay? When you start depriving people of their freedom, you're going backwards in life. The Nuremberg trials came out after all the horrendous stuff in Germany and such. One of the things that came out of those trials is that you're not allowed to force humans to have something done to them that they don't want to have done. Okay? That includes sticking a probe up their nose and twirling it around. Right?
So now they're sticking a little thing down your throat.
Okay, I got full panel over here.
All right, that's good.
I've enjoyed the count. You got a closer?
No, I wish I did.
No, we ran overtime.
Nobody has a closer?
No. Donate blood.
So
get the bobcats off your porch.
And donate blood.
So, just like you said, I have been so irritated because I go in the grocery store, I have to wear my mask, and I do. But then I have to wear my glasses like this.
And then you can't see the stuff.
Well, no, it defeats the purpose of my glasses in the grocery store. You know what my purpose is so when I turn the aisle, I can see clear to the other end. If I'm all fogged up, I can't. Or two, If I have them up here, I can't see the other end. And what if there's someone down the aisle that I would just prefer to just say,
Not to talk to.
It's messed me all up.
Yeah, that's.
And actually, the case is, that I usually see somebody I think doesn't want to say hello to me, so I don't want to put them in. It's just a joke. It's just a joke.
It's another life hazard.
It's just a joke. But the fogged up, you're so right. I'm wearing my glasses up here and a mask.
Get your eye surgery where I got mine. You won't need those glasses anymore.
One of these days. Thank you, Georgia Cancer Specialist affiliated with Northside Hospital. We appreciate you so much for this segment. Thank our viewers out there. If you ever want to send Dr. Whaley a question, you can send that to info at fetchernews.com, or find us on social media. It's not hard. Fetcher News on social media. Send the doctor a question. Also, these great segments, if you want to share with your family and friends, fyntv.com. Ask the doc. They're right there. You could share all of them. And our YouTube channel, FYNTV Fetcher News playlist. The playlist is Ask the Doc. So share these with your family and friends. Great information from these two great doctors. And again, Georgia Cancer Specialist affiliated with Northside Hospital. Thank you. We have over in the green room. We officially have a green room.
Yeah.
Yeah. They have
gray couch.
They have pastries over there. They've got coffee and creamers.
Face makeup.
Yes, everything. We got hair, makeup, everything.
Makeup,
Yeah, they're powdering Rick's nose right now. Oh, no, I'll get in trouble. Right after these messages, All-Star Political Panel.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair, and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on-site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Do you feel like healthcare has become too impersonal?
3 times an hour, I'll get you in, I'll get you out.
At Lifetime Medical Center, you're more than a number. We get to know you, not just your medical issues. Dr. Alana Kent is board certified in family practice and offers same-day appointments. She and her staff treat conditions from minor to chronic issues. Lifetime Medical Center, convenient to Jasper and Blue Ridge.
This may sting a little.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
In 1981, Reed Nicholson began selling tires out of an old barn in Mineral Bluff. Little did he know that he had just laid the groundwork for the most trusted names in automotive services in the Blue Ridge area. In 1997, Nicholson Tire Center became what it is today, holding the same values of faith, family, and great customer service. 2 locations to serve you, and the Blue Ridge location is currently expanding to offer fast service and the largest U-Haul provider in Georgia. Nicholson Tire Center, Blue Ridge, and Mineral Bluff.
It's been 4 generations of family ownership, tens of thousands of customers, and more Chevys than we'd ever be able to count. And more than 60 years later, when we say Days gets it done, we still mean it. With the North Georgia Mountain's lowest Chevy prices, a huge selection, and outstanding customer care. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, and let's get it done.
Days Chevrolet, Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done.
North Georgia is truck country, and nobody discounts Chevy trucks like Days Chevrolet in Jasper. Now save $8,000 off new Silverado crew cabs, or save $5,700 on the all-new body style Equinox. Every Chevy truck and SUV discounted big. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, the low-price leader in truck country.
Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
Circuit World has complete queen bedroom packages at amazing prices. Get this queen bed, dresser and mirror, one nightstand, bedding set, and free 32-inch TV, all for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. Or get this complete queen bedroom set and sleep in style, also for only $1799.99 or $129.99 a month. What an incredible deal! Stop in today at one of our 5 locations and get the furniture you've always wanted at Circuit World.
Ace is your healthful place for paint and home goods, tools, outdoor living, and lawn equipment. But did you know Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge is a little bit more? We have hunting rifles and accessories for your next hunting trip. We have Amish furniture imported directly from Ohio. And we have Ace Custom Woodworks for all your custom wood project needs, from cabinets to artwork. Ace Hardware of Blue Ridge. We have your new house in stock.
New year, new Chevy. Let's get it done at Days Chevrolet in Jasper with huge savings on the Chevy trucks you want, like $8,000 off new Silverado crew cabs, or save over $7,500 off a new Chevy Equinox. Every Chevy truck and SUV discounted big. See Days Chevrolet in Jasper, and let's get it done.
Days Chevrolet. Days gets it done.
Find new roads.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Oh, me.
Hey, folks, we are back. I am your host, BKP. It is time for... Okay. I was just looking. I got a note here. Time for the all-star political panel from Circuit World here in Blue Ridge. Raining outside, not inside. Bruce, Rick, Joey, glad to have you back.
Well, thank you. It's good to be back.
You've been missing. And look, folks, they all have their clipboards, their notes. Joeen's brought a file folder. Joeen has a staff over here in case they got to get something out real quick, look something up.
We have researchers in the car.
Yeah, researchers are over here. So how was the Danish over in the green room? Is it good?
It was average.
Average? Okay.
Yeah.
So, Rick?
Get Apple next time, would you?
Apple?
Hey, can I say something?
Yes, you can.
Last night I got a text from Brian, and he said, check out fyntv.com, which
You'll never
I
guess
did.
where I am.
You'll never guess where I am, yeah. Anyway, Fetcher News has taken on the task of showing football games in North Carolina. North Carolina has a Democrat governor, so they decided they were going to cancel their football season. So they started it this spring, and last night I watched the Andrews versus Murphy, and I got to commend you on the quality of the production. I mean, it was really, really well done. So
Was it an HD or 4K?
Yeah, not 4K.
What, HD?
You're just pushing it. Yes, 4K coming soon.
I'm just asking.
No, but
no, it was really. It came across on the screen as something more professional than I've seen in the area. Let's put it that way. And I'm not going to name names, but you know, there were close-up shots. You were switching different cameras. It was good.
I want to give a shout out to Michael Malden, Tim Tao, Jake West, Michael Malden, Tim Tao, Jake West, and Emily Nicholson there. They are the four. I'm the tripod guy.
You were the gaffer?
Yeah, I put up the tripods and run the electrical wires. And then, seriously, this is not a joke. When everything's shut, they nicely tell me I could go watch the game.
So
go watch the game.
So in other words, when the credits roll, I got to look for Best Boy,
Exactly.
and it's Brian Pritchard, Best Boy.
BKP would be with us, but
second grip.
He's rolling cord. So, but anyhow, yes, North Carolina did move their high school football to last night was first game over Murphy and Andrews. We are going to be doing 6 games for Murphy Bulldogs this year, and I enjoy it. And we'll move right into politics, but Coach Gentry of the Murphy Bulldogs, the winningest high school coach in North Carolina history. So he is the number one winningest high school coach. Great team. It was really funny. Now, Coach, if this gets back to you, it's just a joke. But Andrews had an amazing play down around the outside, about down to the 6-yard line. So they're going to get a touchdown.
A run. They hit a run.
Yeah, good play. I forget if it was a pass or whatever, but just a great play, long play. They're down there, 10-yard line or whatever. They may get a touchdown. And about that time, the lights go off on that end of the field. So social media, I didn't do it's on there. Social media started lighting up. Oh, Andrew's about to score and Gentry turned the lights off. It was funny, but anyhow, thanks for your kind words.
Yeah.
It was very good.
It was good.
We got Franklin next Friday, not tonight. Next Friday night we'll have Franklin Murphy. So hi, how are you? Not interested in football, I understand. Waiting patiently for one of your 12 items. Where do you want to start? Can I suggest something?
Yeah, where do you want to start? Can I suggest?
Well, it takes too long. I mean, I'm ready to go. This is rapid fire stuff. I mean, if we're on a game show, none of you would win. The buzzer is too
all right.
slow.
Well, that's exactly where I want to start, okay?
I know
Which
it.
is HB 531 and SB 241.
You mean we're going to state politics now,
I
which
happen
no
to
one
have
will
both
enjoy?
of them here.
I know.
Wait a minute.
It has national implications.
This is setting national standards.
I understand.
There's a reason. Joeen and I actually had a quick conversation on this yesterday. These two bills.
Yeah. We were on that conference call.
Yeah, we were on that conference. We didn't get invited to that Zoom call.
Okay.
For God's sake, wear your mask.
Yeah, for God's sake.
These two bills have national implication, and we're gonna roll in HB1 with it. That's the bill that's trying to take over federalized elections, and because of these two bills, fair fight, Stacey Abrams, I don't care where you're at, Wyoming or wherever, you're interested in this because Stacey Abrams and fair fight, they're begging Washington to get all the support they can for HB1 because they're afraid of these bills setting national standards. So go ahead.
Well, I wanted to say something at the beginning, I know that this gets very confusing for people, all these different bills, they're coming from every direction. We're getting ready to hit crossover, and each side has sort of their version. And when we keep asking people to call their representative, one of the things that's really important is your representative most of the time supports or would support your position. They just need to know what it is. But they also need to hear that this is a good bill and what the good parts are. And even if you emailed them, because they need to know what to fight for to stay in the bill. You see, it's one thing to say you shouldn't put that in or we need more things in there, but they need to know what needs to stay in there, because that's the hardest part when it gets to the floor, is the other side is trying to jerk everything out.
Yes.
And so they need to know what to don't give up. And I don't think we're very clear on that most of the time. We don't focus on what to stand pat on. We say
what are the big points?
Well, wait just a minute. Before we go any further, I like what you said, because you can get the main points. Because the national implication here, we're going to get to the main points and what this is. HB is House Bill 531.
And clarify what the crossover is.
Right. HB is House Bill 531, which came out of the House of Representatives of Georgia, and it deals with, Barry Fleming is the chair of the Election Integrity Committee that House Speaker David Ralston assembled at the beginning of session. That's a 48-page omnibus bill. You do know I read the whole thing.
Yes, I do.
So it's a 48-page omnibus election bill. It deals with drop boxes, mobile voting units. It deals with absentee ballots, poll watchers. The list goes on. Then SB is a Senate bill, 241, and that's a 26-page bill, I think, from the Georgia Senate, which deals with many of the same things. Okay, and they will mirror those together. Now, I want you to go over some fine points in there, is where it's national. This will have national implications across the country if these bills pass and they get signed by the governor of Georgia. Okay. The other thing there with these two bills, they come out of committee Monday. What that means in our legislative session is when they come out of committee, that's it. Okay? Then they're going to head for crossover. We'll get into that in a minute. So you have today, the weekend, leave messages, write emails, Monday morning. And if you are, I was somewhere, I think I was over in White County approximately 10 days now ago, where State Senator Steve Gooch was talking, and he said he has never in his career received more emails on any one subject, being elections in Georgia, than in his entire career. And he was very clear they came from clear across the country. All over the country, they're getting the emails and phone calls. But we have to call in support, because the phones are ringing off the hook of the people. They're mobilized. Fair Fight is sending out text messages, emails.
I got one.
Right? They are blasting. They are mobilizing their callers. They are mobilizing their people to go to the hearings. And if you do not call and encourage your lawmakers and say, hey, I don't care where you're at, wherever you're at in the United States, call our lawmakers and keep encouraging them to stay focused on these election integrity bills. Now, some of the highlights, Joanne, of the bills.
Well, I mean, they've put in a lot of good things. I kind of like the Senate bill better only because it was shorter. It was easier to read because there's so many things in here. And another thing that's difficult for us lay people.
You have printed out both of them?
Yes, I have. Okay. And I've got notes on them.
Rick didn't print them out. Bruce didn't print them out. Joey?
No, I memorized them. Where do you want me to start?
I'm willing to be educated.
I'm listening.
The problem, though, with the bills for us, what I call lay people, is that there are so many things that overlap, in the two bills. They're both putting in the same kind of language. And it's, the thing is, they've really tightened up, they've tightened up a lot of the things that happened in this past election that nobody ever dealt with before. So that's like when somebody does perform malfeasance or misfeasance, and I'd never really seen the misfeasance before, but misfeasance is when you act on a law inappropriately. In other words, there is a law that covers it, but you don't enforce it correctly. So,
gee, that's never been known to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Okay, and so because that's what Raffensperger and them were claiming, that they did things according to how it was supposed to be, but that's not how it was supposed to be. That's just how either they read it or wanted us to think it was. But there was an actual law that covered that. Like they couldn't have that meeting. The General Assembly should have.
Right, they should have had that. They should.
Yes.
Brad Raffensperger should never had a meeting last March in 2020 with the Democrats in fair fight and signed a consent agreement with them on the election. It should have went to the state legislature.
Right, and so they have specifically put in the bill on both sides that the state election board or members of the Secretary of State or any of the attorneys or staff shall not have any authority to enter into any consent agreement with any other person that limits, alters, or interprets any provision of this chapter. In other words, in case you didn't understand how the law was written originally, they've made it very clear.
Let me get in there on this. Last year, America, out there, because the ones that are really following tight, the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania, what happened there, where they decided to write election law for the good citizens of Pennsylvania, which they did not have constitutional authority to do, but we couldn't get a Supreme Court to hear that. We had a blistering, and I want you to get into the Supreme Court on that this week. So that out in Pennsylvania. I'm telling you the ones I know you out there, viewers in Chicago and all over the United States that watch the show, you also know, because you keep up with it, that this Secretary of State entered an illegal agreement. The House and the Senate of the state of Georgia should have had final say. He did not have the authority. So, sadly, one of our biggest hurdles, no pun intended, Stacey Abrams, you are still the biggest. You are still the biggest. I'm sorry. So it just happened. Okay. So one of our biggest hurdles, no pun intended, Stacey Abrams.
Knocked off YouTube again.
Okay. is our own Secretary of State, who claims to be a Republican, Brad Raffensperger, because he came out, and I think it's language like this you're reading that totally takes the power away from the Secretary of State's office to enter that agreement again, and he's already come out and attacked this.
Okay, but also, should he do it anyway, they've added language now that they can remove that person temporarily. All right, so the superintendent or the Secretary of State or whoever did one of these things.
This is the Senate bill?
Yes, okay. So he can be temporarily removed from exercising the duties of election superintendent on the basis of malfeasance, misfeasance, neglect of duty, incompetence, blah, 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 okay?
So this is something that, if it goes national, will constrain Secretary of States around the country?
If the state of Georgia passes this, now it's not, we're not just, there's a lot here.
Well,
there's the absentee ballots with verification,
right, well, we're gonna get
with ID verification. There is the drop boxes or address.
Yeah, I know there's probably lots of points.
The point of what I'm trying to say, or that I'm trying to get across, is these are the things that you need to call or send an email and just list succinctly, 1, 2, 3, 4, don't let these things be removed. Okay, and another one that I think is really important is the multi-state voter registration system. The Secretary of State shall participate. Shall means they must, all right, participate in a multi-state voter registration system. Because right now, you could be registered to vote in Illinois or Michigan or Florida or anywhere else. They don't really have any way of knowing. When you register in Georgia, you state that you aren't registered somewhere else.
Right.
But
there's no way of checking.
Right, so you could cross the border and vote in Florida.
Well, now here's the
but
thing.
with early
Go ahead.
voting, you can get, like I told my husband, I said, we can get in an RV and we can just go from state to state to state. I mean, we got 3 weeks.
It opened up the door to, like, there's people that pay people to vote in all elections.
Yes.
But, with absentee ballots, it makes it so much easier.
Well, let me say this, and I want to get into several subjects this morning. Don't want to get too far in the weeds on this, and I know we've discussed it, and we're going to keep discussing it on my show throughout this week. We've discussed it in great detail. But when you say national implication, because what we're watching here, and I know a lot of people are watching, I will say this: Fair Fight and Stacey Abrams, if these pass and Governor Kemp signs them, before Kemp, and this is not an exaggeration, can take his pen off the paper, Stacey Abrams will have them in court.
Yep.
So these are all getting ready to go to court.
Sure.
Now, if they stand up in court, that could set some precedents for other states and absentee ballots in other areas and things of that nature. So will it stand up in court? Now, my problem is, and let me go to the other side, all right, for a minute, whether you like it or not.
The dark side?
Let's go, like, when you're debating point. All right, so my side of this debate is I would be ready as an attorney to go into court immediately and say, Your Honor, what is this? It's a reaction. It's a reaction to a big lie that was sold the people of Georgia that has no credibility. Even right here is the documents from their own Secretary of State. It's politically motivated. Their own Secretary of State says there was nothing that went wrong.
And that's my question.
And I would and that's what they're going, and that's why, like, Brad Raffensperger just gets me what he's doing, because he's come out. But go ahead, you go ahead.
No, I'm serious. When you really cut to the chase, you think, okay, we've got a Secretary of State that's gone on the record as saying this was a perfect election.
Yes, absolutely.
Then why in the hell are we going through all of these gymnastics with Senate bills and House bills?
That's exactly right. Exactly
it's
right.
just,
it's, if nothing else, for the appearance of impropriety.
And that's
or
his
whatever.
point. It looks.
No, but that's what the Secretary
reaction.
of State's going to say.
That's right.
But let me say something. Don't we always react? Don't we always? Didn't we react to COVID? We react to everything.
Some of
Go
us
ahead,
did.
Bruce. No, I mean,
Backing up, why didn't the Senate or the House do something with Raffensperger in this consent decree before the election?
Because we've got a weak governor.
Well, because they couldn't. They couldn't call us a session. The governor
They
wouldn't
could have
call
called a session. He
They
could
didn't
have called
the
a
votes. They
session.
didn't
Again,
have the votes.
You mentioned
correct.
that before, and I go, okay, they
could've,
just let
but
it slide
They
through.
needed
so.
108, and he had 103.
all right, well, let me say this.
That's
now,
the speaker. That's
Yeah.
the speaker. The governor could have
the
called.
governor could have called.
That's
it.
what I just said. The governor
Easily.
could have called the
Okay,
session,
but he
and he
didn't.
didn't. That's why you asked the question. We
complicit.
got a weak governor.
Okay, so that didn't happen. The election happened. He's saying all this stuff, and everyone's going to say, hey, the Secretary of State said it's a valid election, end of discussion. But looking at this new bill, and again, whatever comes out, if they merge it and all that, your opinion, it will pass and be signed?
Yeah, it'll be passed. My concern is the dreaded compromises that are taking place now.
That's what the crossover is.
No. Yes,
Yeah, between the two bills.
But with yes, but no, not the crossover, because in the state of Georgia, what happens? You finalize your bill, Senate finalizes their bill, and we have what's called crossover day, and you send them to the opposite chamber to get their input, their opinion. What I'm saying is the dreaded compromise from the Democrats.
Oh, okay.
We have taken out HB 531, took out, and this is what it was called, folks, souls to the Polls, Sunday voting. And the program was called Souls to the Polls. So this bill said no Sunday voting. They've already taken that out and they put it back in. All right, so that's my concern, the dread. But will these pass? Yes, in some form, and there'll be changes.
Yeah.
The other question, you keep mentioning Stacey Abrams and her group.
Fair Fight, yes.
Yeah, will the new Kelly Loeffler group be a factor in this?
No.
Because she's supposedly trying to mirror the Stacey Abrams effort. Right?
No factor.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
There's two things that I think aren't. I think one of them is too onerous in the Senate bill, which is all that they require a absentee ballot person to provide. I'm all for identification and everything, but they have to, the inner envelope has to have an enclosed photocopy of one of the forms of identification. And I'm picturing these elderly people, somebody's sitting there at home, they don't have a photocopier. How do they get it? It's one thing to get the piece of identification, which they're fighting that they don't even have to have identification, but then to put a photocopy of it in the absentee ballot, I personally think is unreasonable. I don't know how to get around that, but I don't think that's reasonable.
Let's get off this, and I say that for a reason, but because we have Supreme Court, we've got other issues that I know we all want to start talking about, but if you can get on, and I don't know what they call it in Pennsylvania and wherever, but here it's called a MATS bus, okay? If you can get on a MATS bus and go play bingo, okay, you can go vote.
Okay, I'm all for that, and however we set that up. But I have one other point to make, and that is in the House bill, where they talk about how you can do an absentee ballot, if you live overseas in a foreign country, and if you don't have a passport. How in the heck did they get in that foreign country to live there if they have no passport?
I agree with you. There's a lot in there, but what I'm getting at is there's reasons to have an absentee ballot. There's reasons to have it, but
and I didn't get that.
But I'm tired of hearing about identification, because to get SNAP you have to have identification.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm tired of hearing about identification. Let me tell you something, okay? The next time somebody tells me, not everybody, I get it, but not everybody. But next time somebody tells me, you mean you got to go online and upload a picture? Let me tell you something. I'm just going to say elderly. I don't know if elderly. I don't want to get in trouble with my mom.
Yeah,
or us.
Yeah,
or
be
you.
Careful.
Wise young folks.
Let me tell you something. Don't tell me you don't have an ID. Don't tell me you can't upload it. Don't tell me you've got no way to screenshot it, because let me tell you something. I can watch social media all day long, and you share pictures, you share everything, and you download everything. It's garbage. Now, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. I have
all right, no more.
Okay,
You get
no
10
mas.
seconds.
No mas.
9,
all right.
8, 7. What?
I mean, Keith, the woodturners thing, I'd say 90% of the people that go to that meeting do not have a smartphone. And I can't send email to some of them, and so you can't say that's not a valid statement. However, we have...
Are you just looking for my valid statements? Because we could be here all day if
I
you're waiting for
understand.
valid statements.
But when this passes, we've got till 18 months or 22 months or however many, and everybody has the ability to, whether they've got a daughter, the people at the senior center, their doctor, somebody, they can all get ID between now and the next election, period. If they want to
Your
vote.
subject of the morning, Rick.
COVID-19, the bill that they're trying to ram through.
1.9 trillion.
1.9 trillion. That's what I'd like to talk about.
Well, go for it.
9% of the bill is COVID related. 91% of the bill is slush.
That was some quick math.
I was going to say gristle, but anyway.
Gristle?
This is nothing more than a replication of the other debacle that happened in 2008. It's the Democrats have found a way to take advantage of a crisis 2008, we went through the housing and banking crisis. What did we get? We got TARP, we got QE1, we got QE2.
QE3.
And all they did was leave Main Street alone. You were a victim of it. And they took care of their friends. They took care of Wall Street. Main Street got screwed. Same thing is happening in this.
And they've only spent 30% of the last bill that was passed. There's plenty of money in all these
There's
little
$1
buckets.
trillion waiting to be
Right.
dispersed.
And just to give an example.
Well, let me just finish my thought. What we're doing is we're doing the same thing with COVID-19. They're taking advantage of a crisis. And they come right out and say, don't let a crisis go to waste. They take advantage of a crisis, and they've thrown so much money at this, and all they're doing is taking care of their buddies again. They're bailing out unions. They're bailing out states like New York and Illinois and California.
And the arts.
And the arts and
That underground or
Planned
that railroad,
Parenthood,
the railroad.
Schumer's Bridge to
Tunnel.
Nowhere, Nancy's underground tunnel.
Right.
For Silicon Valley, who needs it like a hole now.
The biggest debacle is inside of that. There's $600 million set aside for federal employees to take 15 weeks of paid vacation.
Paid
Federal
leave.
employees,
Paid leave.
they haven't missed a damn paycheck in this whole
Right.
thing. Every one of them has gotten paid,
Right.
and now they're getting paid to stay home. Something isn't right
Plus,
here.
they
and it
get a
just
weekly
stinks.
stipend to homeschool their kids.
Yeah.
And the whole way you qualify for that is your kids can't get in-person schooling.
Right, so they got to keep the
and
schools
that's
closed.
every Democratic state in the country.
But just to give people an example,
Right now.
220 millions to this, whether it's the Kennedy Center or whatever, is 548 million, more than $500,000 a day. Now, why do they need an extra $500,000 a day? I mean, for what?
They're not even open.
Yeah, they got nobody coming through the turnstiles.
I mean,
they got to pay the light bill.
$500,000 a day
Come on.
is what that equates to.
This is just an absolute travesty. And the $15, wage thing that they're going to go around the Senate parliamentarian, she vows to push that through, she being the 80-year-old grandmother Pelosi. Isn't that she's vowing to push $15 through,
One way or another.
Yeah, I just don't get it.
Well, I want to add into that is I started talking about it and just throughout the years of studying Bernanke and Greenspan, and I did not choose. I could have gone through my entire life and never studied quantitative easing. I could have been happy. Okay, I'm serious. I'm like, why do I need to know anything about? But as I learned through Obama years and Bush there, QE1, quantitative easing. So I had to study it. But going back all the way from Greenspan to Bernanke to all of them, and I was talking to Joanne yesterday. We get so much trouble. But you know all too well, Bruce.
Another zone.
You know all too well that the Federal Reserve, we now have Yellen, former chair of the Federal Reserve, is now
Treasury Secretary.
Keeps the keys to our money, the Treasury. We always do this. And what's his name over here at the Federal Reserve? Jerome Powell. Okay, I'm worried about hyperinflation because they keep an eye on, and that's when they call it cooling off the economy or infusing cash. But when we pass these bills, like the CARES Act, seems like forever ago, but we have not dispersed those funds. We haven't when you pass a $1.9 trillion bill, you then have to sell that debt to start printing it, right?
Yeah.
So everything that they're dispersing has to get sold, and once it gets sold, then they can print, and then they can. We still have how much of the CARES Act that just
$1 trillion.
It's still in the CARES Act that's not sold out yet. It's not a sold out thing. Nobody's lined up to buy all that debt yet to get it out the door, and we want another 1 point. Are you concerned about hyperinflation?
Not too much because the Fed basically says they're going to let, their inflation target's around 2%. They said, okay, we might go over somewhat, but, it's all choreographed. You have to remember.
Choreograph's a good word there.
The first relief bill and this relief bill, I mean, this is our money. Where are they going to pay this back? This is going to come out of your wages.
60 or 200.
Hello, people.
260 billion was for the schools in that trillion that hadn't been spent.
Mm-hmm.
They've spent 4 billion of the 160 or 260 billion, and now they want 400 billion more for the schools when they've only spent 4
Teachers unions
billion.
are loading up.
That's another thing that's being choreographed is this school closing. They want to make sure that they ram this thing through. That's why we've got to get the kids back to school. The kids are back to school in most areas.
Yeah, get up and go to school, period. I mean...
Where the teachers aren't unionized, they're all back in school.
Well, what do you think about... I mean, the other thing is nobody talks about the simple economics, Business 101, of raising the minimum wage to a standard of $15 an hour. Now, you could take away government, what I call corporate welfare, and you could take some things away, and the free market will demand wages. It'll demand wages. The free market will demand wages. If you have a government housing project over here, and you put rent assistance in, and you say, well, okay, you're going to pay $400 a month, but if it wasn't government backed, it'd be $1,200 a month. Then guess who we're subsidizing? The low income. But if you went over to somebody and said, Mr. Employer, the rent's $1,200, I can't work here for that. Eventually, the market would correct itself, and wages would demand. You with me? It would demand, and you wouldn't even be talking about $15 an hour wages. You wouldn't be talking about that.
Well, what's the hue and cry? What's the emotional buzzword they use with this? A living wage.
Yeah.
Okay, and minimum wage was never.
I get it.
And I mean, they say, oh, well, this will keep a person, like $5,000 below the poverty level. Where does the poverty level come from? It comes from the government. They make these numbers up.
And there's a reason why. It's funny. Biden said, what did Biden say? Biden said, no one should work 40 hours a week in this country and be in poverty in America. And I agree with him on that. Because that's why I work 70.
And there's two definitions of poverty.
You know what I mean?
There's two definitions of poverty. I mean, you got to pick which poverty.
I agree with him. Nobody, if you're going to work, I agree. That's why I work 70 hours a week.
And then you hear stuff about seniors who are living by on like a measly Social Security payment. There's a married couple, they're getting by on like $18,000, $16,000. They're below the poverty level, but they're doing just fine.
Eating ramen noodles.
What say you?
I don't understand how they target something and say it's got to be at $15. Why don't they make it $50? And now they're using the rationale, well, if we don't get 15, the progressives are going to demand 24. Where do they come up with these numbers?
And why do you even have to listen to them?
If you have somebody,
going back to what you said, the market will determine wages.
Exactly.
It already does.
It already does.
Anytime the government gets in there and says, okay, it's got to be this number, it's BS.
Minimum wage is 7.25. Okay, even here in rural
yes,
Georgia,
but right down the street where we sit is a marquee in the air of a fast food restaurant, not a half mile down from here, that says, I don't know if they took it down, that says starting $12 an hour, and it's to entice people to come in, and it does, to go to work for them.
That's what I was going to say. I don't know anybody really that can pay 7.25 because they can't find anybody.
You can't find anybody for that kind of money.
McDonald's pays 10 or 10.25 an hour.
Costco just went to 16.
I mean, the chicken plant in LJ used to be minimum wage. It's now at 13 plus $1,000 signing bonus and benefits, and you go to 14.
And another thing is, wait a minute, we talked about what, 12, 13, 14, 16, 11. It's all also people's interest on what they want to do. If you want to work in a chicken plant, it pays X. If you need X to work here, But if you don't want to work in a chicken plant, there's places that pay 11 that you may be more suited or interested. You understand the whole balance of that. But there's something that in the $15 an hour range, let's say you have some employees making 10, okay, and then you have the supervisor making 15. So you're making 15, you guys are making 10. Bruce, I don't know why you and Joey are only getting $10, but Rick's getting 15. So you're making 15, you guys are making 10. All right, he's the supervisor. Monday morning, government comes in, government says, hey, you got 15, you got 15. You say, I want 20.
I need 20.
I want. Now, what a lot of people don't realize, unions, contracts,
of course,
have those escalators in there,
and they're percentages. So
right.
Yeah, and they're always like a large percentage above the minimum wage. So anytime when the minimum wage goes up, you know, the unions start coming around with their hand out.
He was making 50% more at the 15, so 50% more on the 15 now would be 30. So he doesn't go to 20, he goes to 30.
Yeah. And the UAW used to always champion raising the minimum wage because those guys all of a sudden went to $42 an hour.
Yeah, their floor
based on the formula
goes up like a rocket ship.
Right. I think what they also haven't focused on is that if I owned a company and I've got people there that are doing pretty skilled jobs and they're making, you know, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 an hour, I hire people in at 8 and 9 an hour to do things I don't want you taking your time to do. So I'll bring in a person that's going to load boxes or going to sweep the floor or whatever.
Yep.
But if I now have to pay that person 15, you're going to load the boxes and you're going to figure out enough time to do all of the things I was hiring a person to do. And so it's going to eliminate all of the entry-level jobs, the jobs people did after school. All of us had after-school jobs, but you won't...
Summer jobs for teenage kids.
What about the small business owner?
But those peonies.
What about the small business owner that is working the 65 hours a week? Because I know a lot of them. I know a lot of small business owners it's their business. They have pride in it. They worked hard.
Yeah.
But what about the small business owner that's working 65 hours a week? That when all the math is done and they've met all the government requirements and they've paid all the overhead and they paid all the insurance and they paid the light bill, and they say, well, hell, realistically, I'm down to about $9 an hour myself and I own the place, and, you know, Rick, Joeen, and Bruce are getting 15. How about this? I close this damn place. I get a job where they're at. I get 15. I work 40 and go home. I mean, I'm serious, right?
Yeah.
What happens when somebody just says, the hell with this?
Because the 15 an hour also increases how much tax the employer has to pay.
Exactly.
And how much they contribute. Right.
The employer burden is different, everything. Bruce, you have a subject for the week that...
well, just kind of wanted to throw out there and kind of get everyone's opinion. You know, they're getting sort of worried about Joe, so they're talking about taking the nuclear.
They want
and
him
assigning it to an as yet undefined committee. So, what do you think about that?
Undefined.
What is the purpose of
Deep
them?
State?
That was after he told them to bomb Syria. They wanted to take football away. They don't know what's next.
I mean, there's something underlying in there. There's more to it than meets the eye.
Mm-hmm.
And Ted Lewis signed it, and that Podesta, Jimmy Podesta, not Podesta, Podesta. Who was the?
Well, John's
not in government.
Who was the Secretary of Defense? Panetta.
Oh, Leon Panetta.
Jimmy Panetta is representative from Cali, and Ted Lieu have signed the letter that went to Joe Biden. We would like you to consider ceding the power, CED.
Right.
What was the old-fashioned coach saying? Give them the ball and let them run with it. They don't want to give Joe the ball and let him run with it.
Well, maybe because when they discussed they needed to bomb Syria, he wanted to know which button does it push.
Yeah, and you know, they didn't announce anything for 8 hours.
Well, I think we know it. The Democrats, when I say Democrats, not the ones in the House, the Democrats that are floating around here somewhere, Democrats know he's not in charge. They just won't talk about it.
Yeah, why
they don't talk about it, but they know he's
why
not
bring
in
it up
charge.
till there's an event?
Joe is not in charge.
Situation.
So they're going to take the nuclear football. I will tell you a subject. We got 18. Rick came across in a very good video, and it's just like, I don't know. It's something I think everybody could just use right now on a Friday. It's a nice video. I like it. Well, Emily says Rick sent something over. I said, all right, let me watch it. Let's see what he's setting up. But it's very nice. I think it's something we all would enjoy. But what I want to get to
is this a video of the kid trying to push the garbage canister up the street and it keeps flopping around on him?
No. We're going to play that at the end of the show.
All right, but yes,
we're going to close with that.
I will tell you this: the hearings. I say this all the time. I get up in the morning and I watch what the networks are running for the day. And when I see what the networks are running for the day, then I know what to start searching underneath that for what they're covering up and don't want to talk about. So when I get up and I see they're all up in arms and excited because Liz Cheney and Kevin McCarthy didn't say the same thing in front of a microphone, I said, okay, covering for something. So this week, some of the covers. Yesterday, we had the Equality Act pass with 3 Republicans coming into place. This will, if it gets through the Senate, this will finish off churches. I mean, it just will. It'll finish off churches. I mean, you will not be able to have your religious beliefs and standards. I mean, choir director, church secretary, whatever. There will be major changes that you will meet, even if you have a religious organization. This will complete the dismantling of women's sports. The list goes on of what it's so deep. But that happened this week. HB1 is on the list. The federalizing the elections is on the list to be voted on next week. And then several of the House hearings that nobody talked about this week. And then they, for some reason, they glossed over the New York murderer. Status Cuomo. See, that way I could pronounce it right if I say status quo. Status Cuomo, okay? So they passed right over the New York murderer, Status Cuomo, on his sexual harassment. Keith. Okay, but they passed right over it, didn't they? All of them did, right?
Not one network other than CNN who gave it 14 seconds. Not 1 second to Cuomo and
Fox went
Ted Cruz.
Detail on it.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time on Cruz and nothing about Cuomo.
Cruz, that damn Cancun Cruz. I got to get. He's now known as Cancun Cruz.
Cancun Cruz.
Now, if Cruz would have only dated a Chinese spy, he could have been okay.
If he worked out something and gone on a cruise, that'd really be fun.
Yes.
The Fox covered the Status Cuomo thing.
Yeah, they're the only one.
In detail.
Well, OAN and Newsmax.
I'm saying they're the major.
Well, when I get up and I see like the Liz Cheney take and stuff like that, I know they're so.
I like McCarthy's getting out of there. On that high note, we're done.
Joe Manchin, West Virginia has not had this much power in the Senate since the Ku Klux Klan favorite of what was it, Robert C. Byrd.
Yeah.
Okay, Robert Byrd had a lot of power, but Manchin is walking around with the power. But he is going to not. He is not going to support the nomination of Tandem. Is that her name? Nero
Tandon.
Tandon.
Nero Tandon for OMB director because of her nasty tweets. But he is supporting. He's supporting the Department of Interior. Is it Holland?
Deb Haaland.
Yeah.
Haaland.
That will completely decimate all natural gas and coal in his state.
That's shocked the hell out of me. I didn't understand that because, she is virulently against any kind of, coal, oil, gas, you name it. She's a huge renewable nut. So.
How about the 2 docs going at it yesterday?
Before you jump to the 2 docs, let's go to Becerra from California.
Yeah.
Xavier.
He cannot answer, how you pronounce it?
Xavier,
yes. He cannot discuss abortion at all. late-term abortion. He can, and I like their answer. They got canned. Respectfully, we're going to. Respectfully, Senator, I'm always going to go with the health of the mother and follow science. And I look forward to coming to your office and having an open discussion on all sides of the subject. What the hell did you just say?
Nothing.
Right?
Yeah. It said zero. Never answered the question.
So yesterday, he is going to be your HHS secretary, which he is going to help Biden and the rest. He said, where are they getting the money for it? General fund. We're going to get, it's broke. Medicare is broke. So we're looking at more out of the general fund. Would that be your taxes?
Exactly.
So he is going to help usher in, there's so many different things, but Medicare for all. And then a man who thinks he's a woman. Okay? Yes. A man who thinks he's a woman, Levine, Rachel or Richard, whichever you pick. Yesterday, the head of pediatrics at Penn State, okay, which took his or her own mother out of the nursing home, right? Mm-hmm. And just disgusting. And Rand Paul could not answer the question on...
Rand Paul asked him the question
Go with
specifically.
It. Yes.
They said, how do I put this gently? Genitalia mutilation.
Genital mutilation. I think it's exactly
genital mutilation. Mutilation. Thank you. Like Brian. He couldn't answer the question whether he agreed with that or not. Well, I'll come to your office.
I look forward
to coming to your office.
Is that the kind of the circle back when you get before a Senate committee?
Circle jerk.
Senator, transgender health is an evolving science, right? Yeah, transgender
it made me
health
sick to watch
is an
that.
evolving science, and I do look forward to coming to your office and discussing this subject in great details on all sides.
And then the response by Rand Paul was, for the record, let it be shown in the record that he did not or she did not answer the question. Period.
And didn't he get into thing with, like, some of the drugs that they give,
Yes.
preteens and things like that?
Blockers.
They said these are drugs that aren't typically used for this. They've been...
Well, he said yesterday, I thought they're off-market. What did he call them?
Off-label.
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 And I love what he said. He said, it just seems like yesterday we were all screaming about hydroxychloroquine not
and
being
remdesivir.
a proven treatment for something.
Malaria.
But now you're all okay with going with off-label drugs.
Yeah.
So
you're okay with giving a adolescent the ability to make their own cognitive decision about blockers, hormone blockers, but before a youngster comes in with a cut and you've got to get parental supervision. Where is the balance there?
Yeah, and most people would say teenagers, really don't know what the hell's going on, through their whole teenage life. So.
Well, those are the things that are under the surface this week that people are not watching for, these appointments that are these confirmation hearings that are very important of what direction this country's going in and what we're up against. Joeyne Supreme Court, they would not hear the Pennsylvania case. They did not hear any of the Georgia, Michigan, and what say you? Did you get a chance to look at any of that, or does anybody have any fresh memory of Clarence Thomas's dissent on that?
Well, and the other thing, I don't know about Clarence Thomas, but they didn't allow Trump to keep his taxes withheld from the Attorney General of New York.
They're all compromised, Brian.
Cyrus Vance Jr. Where have I heard that name?
Yeah, exactly.
Cyrus Vance Jr. Yeah. Do you know he got, how many pages was it? It came out this morning. He's already got thousands of pages, 7 years of Trump's taxes. The whole goal, really, you might think it's off the mark.
Close to 1 million.
Was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. The whole goal is to keep him just so tied in to criminal investigations to where he can't get out from under them. and have time to go campaign or campaign for himself or whatever.
And they said, outside people have said that if he finds anything in there, it will be announced very short. It'll be leaked very shortly.
How long before the WAPO has a little fresh front page?
Yeah, or the Gray Lady. We'll have something all designed to criminalize Trump. Bring criminal charges so that he can't run
They're
ever
going to
again.
go into how buildings were valued for the loan, and they're going to take criminal action these were done 10, 20 years ago, so the valuation, how it was done today, that you're going to find someone will be very different than how the valuations were done, back then. And a lot of those valuations are very subjective. I hired a company to value my company.
Don't go too far now.
In the olden days.
Pre-war. He supposedly pressured banks to do this and do that and cut them slack.
But that basically
that's the industry.
Is exactly. That's
welcome to the
how
world of
it
developers.
Works. And if the bank likes what they hear and wants to be involved in this deal,
then investigate the bank. Don't investigate him.
It's. They all have teams of people to do due diligence. So if I were going to get a big loan on something and I present all of how I value it and all of my financial statements and everything, the bank doesn't sit there and say, "Oh, this is really cool," because I made up a spreadsheet and told it to print, and here it is. They go out and do their own due diligence and they test different lines.
So what you're saying is, I could send you something, but then you, on the other half, have to accept what I sent you.
Yes, and I'm going to research it. So when you tell me that you receive...
You're not just going to send somebody like a $500 million loan just because they say the painting's worth this?
Maybe we ought to get an appraisal.
If you say you receive $200
Switch
million...
gear, quick.
Switch gear. CPAC.
Oh, thank you.
CPAC Sunday.
Good gear. Good.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the culmination, 3:40 in the afternoon, Trump speaks. Then they're going to do, just before that, they're going to do straw poll results. Who do you guys think, straw poll, they've been doing this, what they do is they throw out candidates for president, and they do a straw poll for a lot of things, but that's the big one that comes out. Rubio's been, Rubio and Cruz in the past.
Sunday or 4:45? Well, it is Sunday afternoon, correct?
I had 3:40.
So good gear switch. Rick is right. Don't forget CPAC, Trump. Do you think Trump's he's going to be on fire? Is he going to be Trump? Is he...
I don't know. Hard to say.
3:40, President Donald J. Trump. Just before that, the CPAC
be a hell of a time for
results.
him to go act presidential.
Yeah.
Huh?
It'd be a hell of a time for him to go act presidential. Hey, folks, here's what I want to do. This is a really heartwarming story. I enjoyed it. I watched it this morning. And I just thought it was an amazing, nice clip that we're not going to give Rick credit for it. We're going to he's going to give somebody else credit for the clip. But just right now, everything going on, this is a great story. It's 3 minutes long. Stay with the video. Emily's going to play it. Now, don't go anywhere, because when we come back, winners and losers, and we're going to close the show. Okay, folks, we are back. I just really enjoyed. What's the horse's name? You should memorize that.
Oh my gosh!
Who do we give credit to that for?
My wife.
Thank you. I wanted to make sure.
I said, help me with my winner of the week. She said, if you don't play the winner, if you don't play that, yeah. She said, then you're the loser.
I just really enjoyed that story of the horse.
It was really heartwarming.
Okay, so David Perdue, we have some exciting elections coming up in Georgia, like many of you. Pennsylvania out there, you're looking for somebody to replace Pat Toomey, and I will say this. Elections, a week is an eternity in the election cycle. So I'm not writing off Pennsylvania, but my fear is that Pat Toomey, although he voted to impeach the president, I have a concern that Republicans may lose that seat. They have a lieutenant governor, I forget his name, also a representative, Connor Lamb. They've got a couple Democrat power players up there, and unless we see some names that I've not heard yet on the Republican side in Pennsylvania, Pat Toomey may be a lost seat. But Warnock, the hope is Reverend Raphael Warnock
here in Georgia
is he's up again, just the 2-year term, and we may be able to get that seat back for the Republicans.
I'm going to tell you who's going to beat him.
Hold on, Turbo. Senator David Perdue,
that's right, my line.
Senator David Perdue, former Senator David Perdue in Georgia, filed the appropriate paperwork anticipating to run to collect money, and then released a statement this week that, nah, I'm not doing it. So here's our quick one, then winners and loser. The other name that's getting pushed is Herschel Walker.
Exactly, that guy is going to beat him. Herschel Walker.
Wonder how Rick feels.
Herschel Walker appeals to both sides. He's a Trump supporter. Trump is the one that got him out of the NFL and brought him to the New Jersey Generals. Remember that? He played for
Trump and the Generals.
I don't remember.
Who was the quarterback?
I don't know. All I know is Herschel Walker is a legend.
Played at Boston.
In this state. Flutie the cutie.
Flutie was quarterback of the Generals. Then he went to the Canadian Football League, and then he landed back in the NFL, and he was too short to play. Anyhow, what say you? Hey, don't check your phone. We're almost done.
Know what?
Oh my God! So what say you? Do you have any picks for who could run for Senate in Georgia?
Well, the question I have is Doug Collins. Is he still figuring out governor or senator?
I don't think. Collins has made some recent moves that does not say I'm running for office.
Okay.
So I don't know. But so you're thinking Herschel Walker?
Yes, sir.
What say you?
Well, I mean, I think considering
I got two great videos.
The makeup of what's going on in this country right now, so in other words, black is king, I would Herschel Walker or Vernon Jones, but we need a black person that's a strong candidate
to run against Raphael.
Raphael, who's a pathological liar, but he sure makes good movies.
Herschel will smoke him.
Yeah.
Okay, Herschel will smoke him, and I do think Vernon Jones is running for office. I don't think he's going to jump for senator, maybe, but I'm thinking Secretary of State or
governor,
lieutenant governor. I don't know if he's going to jump all the way, but we'll see. He's going to do something.
Yeah.
All right, winners and losers.
My loser, and it's kind of a twist on thing, is Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, yeah.
He got his DUI dropped and immediately announced he's doing a podcast series with Barack Obama's production company on Spotify. So...
did he get a DUI driving the Jeep?
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't think it was the Jeep, but Jeep, immediately after the DUI was dropped, said, okay, we are unpausing you. So I think he's just a loser. He looks like crap with all that. Winner, 5 counties in southern and eastern Oregon called the Move Oregon's Borders or Greater Idaho want to secede from Oregon and join Idaho. They made the May 18th ballot. Unfortunately, they're going to need state legislature and congressional approval if they win. So that's kind of that. And then just a couple of real quickies here. The gas price on the oil price on November 2nd of West Texas Intermediate was 38.83. The futures market today opened at 62.68 a barrel.
Welcome to those Biden benchmarks.
To your hyperinflation point, that's a 60% increase in 3-4 months.
My winner was the video, obviously. My losers are Coca-Cola and their instruction to be less white. What I'm concerned about is black coffee. The brownies, are we going to lose brownies? Are they going to be taken off the shelf? What about White Castle? Oh my God, White Castle burgers.
Brownies sell Girl Scout cookies.
You know who's really screwed? Cracker Barrel. Are they going to have to change the name? Chinese checkers? Can we not play Chinese checkers anymore?
Probably not.
And what about Italian beef? I love Italian beef.
Yeah.
You've ruined my afternoon.
After 15 years.
But you can still get a black and white cookie.
After 15 years, Ted the polar bear got his walking papers from Coke.
Too white.
Well,
Okay, winners and losers.
Well, my loser is, as I've said repeatedly, the U.S. citizen. And I'm going to throw in then my hyperinflation. I don't think people understand, and I'll be real quick on this, and that is, as you mentioned earlier, you got to sell this debt that we're creating. And we can't sell. They keep sending the money, the bills, T-bills out there, and they don't sell them at auction, so they have to keep raising the rate. And that 10-year rate went up so significantly, it normally takes a year to go as many basis points as it went in a week. And so it's going to keep going up because nobody's buying them at that rate. And so that affects the U.S. because we've got so much debt and we have to now pay such a higher rate for this debt, and we still can't sell it. So wait till you see where it's going, and there's nothing that the Federal Reserve can do about that except buy the T-bills themselves, which the U.S. government has done before, but then they're buying their own debt. And
it's all a shell game.
Yes, it's a shell game.
Money laundering 101.
Exactly.
Can I just say two quotes I'd like to leave people with real quick?
Go for it, Bruce.
Who said,
let's go to 12.
Who said the goal of socialism is communism? Vladimir Lenin. And this is from George Orwell's 1984. Freedom is the right to tell people what they do not want to hear.
There you go.
Hey, folks, there's multiple losers out there in the world, right? Jokingly. But I have one, and I'll say this, okay? Whether you agree or disagree, period, whether you agree or disagree, Mike Lindell, Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Lynn Wood, the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, networks, anybody that has questioned Dominion voting machines, just said Dominion voting machines, anybody that just wants them looked at, anybody that just wants them audited, Dominion has launched, it seems like the magic number is a $1.5 billion lawsuit. So they're trying to take down, you can think he's a crackpot, Mike Lindell. They're trying to take down Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, Lindell, news networks, and the President of the United States. So what does Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger do this week? He has a webinar on the 2020 election with Dominion to talk about the success of Georgia elections and how Dominion played a great role in the success of the election. So what does he do? He sets all the groundwork for Dominion to take this on what a success Brad Raffensperger said the election is with Dominion voting machines. Oh, they can take all this and go right into court with it. And so Brad Raffensperger inadvertently is helping take down Rudy Giuliani, Mike Lindell, the President of the United States. He's a despicable man. Just despicable man. And then on top of that, we're trying to pass HB 531 and SB 241. And he comes out this week and says what? Well, he is looking at these bills, and before he could support them, he has to say most of this is reactionary to the election that could have been solved if people would have gotten the correct information about the election. So he's helping now, Fair Fight, lay the groundwork to take these two bills into court. Brad, you are a despicable man. Clean your damn office out and go home. You understand? And that's from the people of the United States of America. Sorry.
And the state of Georgia.
And the state of Georgia. There you go. That's how I feel. I don't know.
Say this in the same sentence. Raffensperger followed the money.
Yes.
Right, to tell people what they don't want to hear.
It's 10:15.
Two places I enjoy being is being attacked by liberal media and on Brad Raffensperger's S list. And it's both are happening. Love it. See you Monday.